News Channel 20 Weather Special, Keeping You Safe in the Storm, is sponsored by Ameren, Illinois. News Channel 20 Storm Team, keeping you safe in the storm.
The winter months are upon us, but with the cold weather and snow comes some challenges you may not think about. In tonight's Winter Weather Special Report, we'll have everything you need to know as temperatures drop and snow heads to central Illinois, from staying safe on the road.
And then we'll monitor road temperature and make sure we try to ensure that motorists a safe roadway.
To avoiding common wintertime injuries.
Traveling involves more upper body work, so that puts more stress on the heart.
Our storm team meteorologists are working to keep you safe in the storm. Thank you for joining us for the Ameren Keeping You Safe in the Storm Winter Weather Special. I'm Chief Meteorologist Cheryl Lemke.
And I'm meteorologist Darren Leeds. Over the next half hour, we're going to be going over everything you need to know during the winter season.
We'll be covering a variety of topics, from taking care of your vehicle during the cold weather to how the different types of winter weather form. We'll also have some safety tips for driving and dealing with snow.
But first, the National Weather Service is making changes to wind chill watches and warnings this year. I'm breaking down what you need to know when it comes to these new alerts. Well, we are no strangers to the cold weather here in the Midwest come winter time, but starting this winter, the National Weather Service is doing a little bit of some changes when it comes to our cold weather watches, warnings, and advisories. So as we're looking at hazard simplification is what they are calling it, and these are our previous wind chill watches, warnings, and advisories. We get the warnings. The watches typically is what is issued that is preceded the warning, and then advisory is going to be some wind chill factors that are not as bad as what we typically see in a warning, but still it's going to be conditions that we're not going to be wanting to go outside in. These are our new warning watches and advisories. They have now shifted to extreme cold warning, extreme cold watch, and that cold weather advisory. So what criteria do we need to reach some of these? Well, let's cover the watch and the warning to start off with extreme cold watch and extreme cold warning. Essentially what we're going to need to see is temperatures in this can factor in our wind chill of minus 25 degrees, pretty much in a line from Jacksonville through Decatur onwards to Champaign and Danville of minus 25 degrees. Not as cold in some of our more southern counties. From Taylorville on east towards the Paris area, they'd need to reach temperatures around minus 20 degrees, and essentially that's what we'd get with those extreme cold warnings. And like I said, those watches would precede the warnings, meaning this is what we are forecasted to see in the next couple of days. Cold weather advisories, like I mentioned, not dealing with as cold of numbers, but still it is bitterly cold out there under the cold weather advisories for this coming winter. Same typical setup is what we're going to be seeing. That Jacksonville to Danville line, we'd be seeing temperatures dropping around minus 15 degrees, and from Taylorville on east to Paris, minus 10 degrees. So we are seeing those changes to the advisories, watches, and warnings this year, but things just looking to be a little bit more simpler and just easier to understand, I think, for the viewers at home. And central Illinois has already seen its first official snowfall of the season, with some snow falling the Monday after Thanksgiving. And while it wasn't a heavy snowfall, it did serve as a good reminder for drivers to slow down during slick conditions.
But other parts of the country have already seen blizzards dumping feet of snow on the ground. This video from Ohio showing inches of snow that fell in Aurora, Ohio, and includes a weather phenomenon known as thunder snow. Now, we're already in the midst of meteorological winter, but what that means for Illinois residents can vary across the state.
Meteorologist Matt Bednar takes a closer look at what a normal winter season is like in the land of Lincoln.
Now that we're in December, we usually get our first snowfall here in the region, but we do expect a wide variety of those first snowfall. Here in central Illinois, some of our very northern portions of Iroquois County could see that first snowfall in late November, but here early December, like we did for most of us, some of us maybe even saw in November. But looking at the snowfall that we expect during the winter season, our record's 45 inches of snow. We normally get 17.1 inches, and last year we fell short of that, only getting to 14.4. Temperature-wise, record-breaking temperatures across the area. We got our highest temperature ever last winter, 80 degrees on February 27th. We normally average right around 31 degrees during December, January, and February, and one of our coldest conditions ever during the winter months was back in 1905. We got to negative 24 degrees without wind chill, so very cold day. The winter season just began. We'll see if any of these records hold.
All right, thank you, Matt. And as he mentioned, Matt was talking about meteorological winter, which has already started. That cycle is based on the Earth's annual temperature cycle. Astronomical winter, which is based on the Earth's position to the sun, begins on December 21st.
And while much of the focus during the winter is on ice and snow, but the bitter cold has its own dangers. Frostbite and hypothermia are both illnesses that can happen in the cold. But some conditions like high wind can increase the threat for frostbite. When the temperatures get extremely cold, layers are necessary to keep warm. We spoke with Dr. Doug Carlson, the medical director at St. John's Children's Hospital, on the best ways to prevent frostbite.
On really cold days, it's making sure that you have layers on, you wear a hat, and you take precautions so you're not out in the cold temperature for too long. If you or your kids have a little bit of redness and it hurts a little bit, put some warm cloths around that. You can try some lukewarm water. Just make sure the water is not hot to touch.
And Dr. Carlson also told us to never use hot water to treat frostbite, and that's as easy because it's very easy for you to get thermal burns.
And driving safely can be challenging, but snow and ice can lead to extra difficulties for even the most experienced drivers. Chief Meteorologist Cheryl Lemke examines what sort of challenges we may face this winter.
A sheet of ice is exactly what you need if you're an ice skater, but not if you're a driver. Each year, as the weather turns cold, Illinois drivers face the daunting task of navigating slick roads covered by ice and snow. Central Illinois averages 5 days each winter with freezing rain, and the area from just south of Quincy through Lincoln to Watsika south to I-72 experiences more freezing rain and ice than any other part of the state. In fact, Central Illinois averages one major ice storm of a half an inch or more each winter season. As for snowfall, Springfield averages 21.8 inches of snow during winter, and that all means a lot of ice and snow making for dangerous driving conditions. According to figures from the Illinois Emergency Management Association, winter driving conditions contribute to an average of over 29,000 vehicle crashes statewide each winter. And there's a direct correlation between the more ice and snow covering the roads and the higher the risk and greater the incident rate of accidents. Consider this. During the winter of 2023, Springfield received 6.8 inches of snow. That's less than a third of the normal snowfall, and the end result was 78 crashes reported throughout Sangamon County, according to statistics by IDOT and the Illinois Bureau of Data Collection. But in stark contrast, during the winter of 2019, Springfield picked up over 31 inches of snow. That's almost 1.5 times the normal winter snowfall, and the accident reports soared to 441 crashes throughout Sangamon County.
It remains to be seen what this winter holds in store for Central Illinois, but the forecast is calling for a weak La Niña pattern to be in place from now through the end of March.
According to the Climate Prediction Center, what that typically means is that this winter could be drier than usual across the southern states, but wetter than usual across the Pacific Northwest and Northern Great Lakes area. But for Central Illinois, there is no strong indicator about how much ice or snow we could have. Instead, we have equal chances of average precipitation.
Now in part 2, Cheryl discusses what you can do to get your car ready for winter and what are the best ways to help navigate icy and snow-covered roads.
Also coming up after the break, the efforts to make sure drivers can still hit the road even amid winter storms.
Plus, breaking down the types of winter weather we could see, how they're different, and why what type we get depends on warm air.
News Channel 20 Storm Team, keeping you safe in the storm.
While driving safely can be challenging when the weather turns cold, but there are ways to make sure you stay safe during the winter weather.
Here are some things that you can do before a storm hits to get your vehicle ready and how to navigate those icy and snowy roads.
So knowing that ice and snow is inevitable in central Illinois each winter and that there has not been a winter in Illinois without a winter storm in the past century, what can we do as motorists to better handle whatever winter hazard comes our way? The National Weather Service from Lincoln offers some helpful tips and suggestions. First of all, get your car winterized before winter weather strikes.
Making sure your vehicle's in good operating condition, so having a mechanic check over your vehicle and basically winterize it, so to speak.
Check on wiper blades, tires, lights, and fluid levels. Make sure brakes and the transmission are working properly. Also lubricate door and trunk locks to prevent them from freezing, and make sure to keep your gas tank near full to prevent ice in the tank and fuel lines. When driving in winter, adjust your driving habits. Drive slower and increase your following distance. If the road is snow and or ice covered, start slowly and brake gently. Avoid sudden quick moves. Begin braking early as you approach a red light or stop sign. Realize that road conditions may vary greatly depending on sun, shade, or roadway surface. So watch out for slick spots, especially on overpasses and under bridges and in shady areas. If you do start to slide or feel your car trying to fishtail, ease off the pedal and try to steer in the direction of the skid.
Guidance that I've read is that you steer in the direction of the slide so that your car, can correct properly.
Keep in mind that the wind can make traveling even more treacherous.
The wind can play havoc on an event because it'll create a situation where whatever's fallen now will start to drift across roadways. Even after snow stops, you can have roadways re-ice over even after they've been treated because the wind will be carrying new snow across the roadways. So it complicates the ability to keep roadways safe.
Not all vehicles behave the same way on snowy and slick roads. Four-wheel drive cars offer the best traction, followed by front-wheel and then rear-wheel driven cars.
Four-wheel drive is the best. Having all four wheels driving, pulling your car along is the most traction you're going to get. If you don't have that option, then front-wheel drive is safer than rear-wheel drive.
But if you do have a rear-wheel drive car, you can compensate by using snow tires for added traction.
Made sure we had the tires that were snow tires on our car, and that makes a big difference. Not just radials that are all season. You want snow tires on your car in that situation because they're going to grab the best and give you the best chance of maintaining traction with the road.
And another option if you have a rear-wheel drive car is to carry a big bag of sand or kitty litter in the trunk, which can serve a duo purpose. Not only will the bags give you some extra weight and hopefully extra traction ability, but also you can spread some of the pellets on the ice and snow to give you additional grip on the road. With your winter driving tips, I'm Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Cheryl Lemke.
Now, the Illinois Department of Transportation says that you should also reduce your speed by half when driving on snow-packed roads.
And IDOT has also been busy preparing for the upcoming winter weather. The agency starts planning for the coming winter season at the end of the previous winter by filling their salt domes and maintaining their vehicles. As winter storms begin to approach, they start by pre-treating bridges, ramps, and rest areas with a liquid brine. As snow begins to fall, IDOT is constantly monitoring road conditions and then will either apply salt or begin plowing.
A couple hours before the storm, getting it ready, making sure the trucks are loaded if they're not already loaded before the storm comes in, like at the end of the shift. And then we'll just watch close, and then as soon as the snow flies, and then we'll monitor road temperature and make sure we try to ensure that motorists a safe roadway.
And Cook says salt treatments become ineffective at 10 degrees and colder. IDOT wants to remind drivers to not crowd the plow. It's a slow-moving operation to treat and plow the roads. Giving them the space they will need will ensure you will be able to travel safely.
And before you hit the road this winter, you should create an emergency kit for your vehicle in case you might need to drive during a winter storm. IDOT says a kit should include essentials like an ice scraper, snow shovel in case you need to dig your car out, or if you need to remove snow from under your tires to get better traction. You should also have supplies in case you get stranded, such as a coat, a blanket, a flashlight, extra water, and supplies to change a spare tire, and jumper cables. You can see more useful items, though, over on our website.
Well, is it freezing rain or sleet? After the break, we'll break down the different types of winter weather we'll see in the land of Lincoln.
News Channel 20 Storm Team, keeping you safe in the storm.
Well, scenes like this one in North Dakota can be common throughout the country and in Illinois during this time of year. This is a time lapse from Fargo showing the high winds and heavy snowfall that can come with a winter storm.
And throughout the winter, we mainly get snow and rain. However, there are a couple other types of precipitation that impact our area too during the winter season. Meteorologist
Matt Bednar breaks down what types we can see and how they form.
One of the main differences between the winter months and the rest of the year is all the different types of precip that can occur. We got rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow, and each one of them have a different process to form. So I spoke with Ed Shimon, the warning coordinator at the National Weather Service office in Lincoln, about those processes.
That warm layer aloft is going to drive the bus and where snow is going to fall. And then there's a transition to sleet, freezing rain, and then all rain. And that typically will occur based on the depth of the warm air aloft and how much cold air is below that warm air. Is there a lot? It'll be sleet. If it's just a little bit, it could be freezing rain. If there's no cold air, it falls as just as rain. So that's the situation. This is how much warm air is encountering that ice crystal as it's falling.
So let's take a look at the precipitation type that uses the least amount of cold air, and that would be rain. And with rain, it really is all about, as those ice crystals fall out of the clouds, they make their way past that freezing point, and with the air warm all the way down to the surface, those water droplets fall as raindrops. But let's take a look at one of the precipitation types that's least common here in central Illinois, but it might be one of the more impactful ones.
Freezing rain is actually complete melting of that ice crystal, and the ground area is below freezing. So once it's hitting the ground, it's hitting as a water droplet, but refreezing as soon as it hits either the pavement or a car window or whatever it's hitting. We always try to make sure we get ahead of freezing rain because that's one of the more impactful ones that we deal with.
The main difference between freezing rain and sleet is that cold air layer near the surface. For sleet, it's a little bit more elevated off the ground. So as those ice crystals are falling out of the sky, they melt, turning into water droplets. But since there's colder air more elevated, they actually have more time to freeze and they will turn into ice balls. And the main difference between sleet and hail is hail's formed in updrafts of thunderstorms, while sleet's forms as it's falling towards the surface. But the last and definitely the more common type of precip we get in the winter is snow, and those ice crystals just fall all the way down as snowflakes. There's no warm air involved, and that's when we start to get that snow to accumulate. Reporting live in studio, I'm meteorologist Matt Bednar.
All right, thank you, Matt. But no matter what precipitation is falling, you should always slow down and be cautious when driving while the roads are wet or icy.
And coming up after the break, protecting your heart, the types of injuries doctors see when it comes to shoveling snow.
News Channel 20 Storm Team, keeping you safe in the storm.
Well, the snow might be beautiful when it's falling, but what about when you need to clear it from your driveway?
Our Storm Team meteorologist Nick Patrick has more on why dealing with the snow can be more than just a headache.
If you're like me, you might love when the snow actually starts to fall, but what about when you need to get outside in it? The usual first thing you got to do is make sure you get your car out of the driveway, which can be dangerous, potentially even deadly.
Within 2 minutes, as Dr. Franklin has shown, you will experience stress levels similar to a stress test with heart rates going up to 170. So we recommend that you be generally fit.
Heart issues are usually the biggest risk when it comes to shoveling your driveway, but other minor injuries could lead to a trip to the emergency room.
Slip and breaking a hip or a femur, especially in the elderly, this can be very detrimental. So we want to make sure they wear good footwear. Make sure you salt your driveways.
Now, the actual weight of the snow itself is usually the biggest problem. Snow's coming down, it's light, it's fluffy. Not going to take much to actually remove it here. But the heavier the snow gets, the wetter it gets, as we say, you can see that weight differential really starts to add up. 1 square foot of snow can weigh anywhere from 12 to 25 pounds. That's more than what you're going to get on the shovel at any one time. You need to shovel an entire driveway, things are going to add up real quick.
Shoveling involves more upper body work, so that puts more stress on the heart, and generally we hold our breath when we are shoveling. That adds to the stress. And these are all isometric exercises done in the cold weather.
Now, the common safety tips you've probably heard before. You be heart conscious. If you've had issues in the past, you definitely want to take it more easy when you're actually getting outside. The same thing goes for that shoulder strain. You want to warm up before shoveling, but a few major tips here include watching out for the ice. You slip, you fall. Family member last year, in fact, actually slipped on the ice while shoveling, dislocated their shoulder. That could mean months of rehab or even longer if you actually need surgery. And the two biggest tips I actually have for you here is to shovel snow while it's fresh. The lighter it is, the easier it's going to be. The longer you wait, the heavier that snow gets. And keep the cell phone close by. I know it's not always the first thing you want to grab when you walk out the door, but in case you need it, an emergency, you'll want it close by. You'll want to be able to call for help as soon as you need it. In the studio, Nick Patrick, back to you.
Thanks, Nick. Now, the Mayo Clinic also recommends drinking plenty of water before and during shoveling and stretching to warm up your muscles in your arms, legs, and back to reduce the chance of injury. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
News Channel 20 Storm Team, keeping you safe in the storm.
Well, thank you for joining us for our winter weather special.
And we really hope that you enjoyed the information that we shared with you tonight to keep you weather aware and prepared for any wintry weather that might be headed our way in the upcoming weeks.
And don't forget, when we do see winter weather, severe weather, we want to see your weather photos. Head to newschannel20.com, click Chime In to submit your pictures, but please remember to stay safe when photographing active weather.
Again, thank you so much for joining us.
And get severe weather updates 24/7 on our websites, weather apps, or follow us on social media. Have a great night.
Thank you so much for watching, and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and you can see more videos from News Channel 20.